Hey, what's going on, guys? Today I'm going to be doing my out-of-box review for the 1/100 scale Graze Standard or Commander type. We do have the option. I'll show you that later. Basically, it's just a part for the head you can swap. And otherwise, we do also have some parts you can swap onto the Barbatos as well. The Gauntlet arm, I'll show you more about that later and show you those parts switching onto the Barbatos. And all the regular sort of review stuff, we'll go through all of that. So before we get started, just want to say a big thank you, as always, to MindFenix Hobby Store for supplying me with this kit. So thank you to them. If you guys are in Australia, please go and check out their site. The link is always in the description down below. So let's get this guy going around. The first thing you're going to notice, and probably in my opinion the best thing about buying this kit over the HG, is just the improved details. This thing has a lot more details than the HG. So that is going to be probably the best thing about it, I would say. Personally, I really like the HG for this. It does have a couple of tricky seam lines, but otherwise it is a really nice, solid, simple HG kit and looks really good. Of course, the 1/100 scale has a lot more detail, but the proportions I think are a little bit different too as well, so that might be something that you either like or don't like for one version or the other. For the most part, what it comes with is essentially the same, except for that the 1/100 scale does come with open hands, but honestly, as you can see here, they're really not the most exciting open hands. They're pretty boring, just kind of static open. They're not in any sort of dynamic pose at all. So yeah, with the 1/100 scale you get open hands, but they're really nothing that great. The 1/100 scale does also have a few flaws that I personally would find really annoying, much worse than anything on the HG. So we'll talk about all of that here in a moment. Just as you can see here, all the colors are all looking really nice. Again, pretty much the same as the HG. The one thing that we do get, which is really nice, that we didn't get on the HG, is that on the thrusters on the back, when it comes back around, you can see it here. On the HG, those are just hollow on the inside, not really too much going on in there, but here we have this nice gray piece on the inside of there, which is going to give you a lot of nice detail. Otherwise, all the colors are essentially all the same as on the HG. You just have gray for the joints, and then all the green, dark green, and light green for the armor, and a couple of yellow parts there. Of course, the HG did not come with any yellow parts, it was all stickers, but that might have been better than this in a way, and I'll show you more about that here momentarily. So let's get into talking about some of the articulation. So bringing it up here closer, you can see the head is pretty nicely articulated. It's going to go up that far, and here's one problem that I had with this kit as soon as I started, because this is one of the first armor pieces you put on. This part here on the neck comes off very easily, so I'm not sure if this is really supposed to do that. It seems like maybe this part is supposed to move like that, but I'm not entirely sure if it's just kind of loose, because if you press it down all the way, then it should be stuck on there. So I don't think it's supposed to move, but it often comes loose every time you move the head back like that. The face does open up. The front part moves down a little bit, like so, and then the top part lifts up. This is also kind of tricky because it's very, very loose. So like after you build the full inner frame, then you start putting the armor on the body, on the head, and those are the worst parts of this kit, I have to say. Like that part's loose. These parts on the head are really loose, like this. It's just kind of like floating around the inner frame piece. Sticker there and there for the eyes. Yeah, so that whole head is just kind of really loose on there. Not really too great, but it's going to go up like that and down and then rotate everything you want it to do, and it doesn't really stay totally closed. You always have a little bit of a gap there, which is kind of unsightly. Of course, you can fix all of this with painting and all of that too. And here's another thing that I really hate about this kit, is that these green pieces here on the front of the torso are not really like connected to anything. They're just sort of free floating, so you have to just find their position where you think they should be, and then just kind of press it in as hard as you can, and then they'll sort of stay there. But as you can see, you have to like line them up. There's no notch or anything that like puts them in the correct position, so they could be down like that, they could be up like that, all over the place. There's really no way to know. And if we take those off, here's the other part. This is a yellow piece inside there, and this is a gray sticker around there. On the HG, it was the opposite. It was a gray piece and then just a yellow sticker. I think that's way better than this. This gray sticker around the edge of there looks terrible. Just having a yellow sticker or just a yellow stripe sticker just laid down in there looks so much better. Of course, painting is going to be the best option, but for anyone who doesn't paint, anyone who wants to use the stickers, the HG version is much better than this. That's just silly. I really don't know why they did that. Otherwise, all the internal details here is all looking really cool. We have the same kind of motion here in the chest, and here you can see this part on the chest is coming off as well. The whole chest sort of folds down like that and up, and we get some nice movement there. And these pistons can move it not really to the side, although it seems like we should be able to. It's going to be similar to the Barbatos. We get a little bit of twisting action in there, but see, sometimes these pistons are just going to pop off. So some pretty okay articulation in there, but again, really nothing too much more than what we had on the HG. These shoulder parts, let's see, these parts are just coming off now. So the shoulder parts are moving forward and back like so, and then up. You're going to get the arm nice and far up like that, so that's good. Down, rotating there. A joint here in the elbow is going to give you more than 90 degrees, but not too much more. The wrist is just on a ball joint. The front skirt is joined, but you can separate those just like the HG. The side skirts are going to move up and down. Back skirt is just solid there. The legs are going to rotate there at the top and then move up. We can pull all this leg up about that far, but that's before the side skirt is getting in the way there. So that's about the extent of how high you can bring that knee. Not too high, but the armor separation here and all the details everywhere there on the leg is looking really nice. So in the knee, that double joint is going to give you a really nice bend there at the knee. Sadly, you're just not really able to bring the leg up that high just because of this very large armor piece here on the front of the thigh. Down here in the ankles, we have this part which is going to move slightly, this sort of ankle guard, slightly up and down like so. And the feet are able to move side to side a little bit like that. So here's where the ankles, you can see going out really far there. The ankle joint is definitely better on the 1/100 scale than the HG. You can point the feet down a little bit more. On the HG, it's pretty much nothing. Here you can point them down a little bit like that. Forward that much, so you have a little bit more range of movement, especially side to side there. Here on the back, this lifts up just a little bit. There's a little bit of like a thruster in there, I guess. Not really the coolest gimmick because it like just barely opens up like that. Open it up any farther and this armor piece will pop off of there. One of the biggest improvements that the 1/100 scale has is that on the HG, there's a seam line here. Now this is a separate piece that just plugs onto the side, so there's no seam there, so that is good. Much fewer seam lines in this kit, pretty much nothing really, come to think of it, so that is definitely one advantage of this kit. That's pretty much it for the articulation. You can see this part fell off the back. For the backpack, like the HG, we have the option of plugging this onto the back skirt or the back of the torso. Again, that's a yellow piece, where on the HG it was a yellow sticker. Yellow piece, yellow sticker, in this case it doesn't really matter because it doesn't really move at all. But these thrusters here on the back are going to move up and down. I'll just take this off because they're falling off very easily. And then rotate like this, and this thruster can rotate inside of there independently. So all cool, and again, really nice details inside and outside on this part. If you want to plug these onto the backpack, we have some different parts here. So basically what you have to do is pull these off, and you have the center part, you leave that out, and then just plug on these new parts, which look like this, which have a hollow section in there, kind of disappointing. And these just plug into the ball joints on the back of the backpack, or just back of the back, I guess I should say. So although it is on a ball joint, they're really not going to move too much. You're going to be able to move them a little bit around there, but not all that much. You're probably going to want to keep them nice and solid and pretty much just lined up like that. It's pretty cool. I think they look a little bit cooler on the back skirt though, so that's where I'm going to keep them for the rest of this review. The other option that we have for this kit is, like I said, the head. We do have the Commander antenna, so here's that. You just have to take this part off and just switch it out. Plugs onto a small little gray piece there in the top inside of the head. And there we go. Again, here is what it's going to look like with that commander fin on the head, but again, I like it just the regular grunts, so for the rest of the review I'm going to keep that off. Then we've also got two just regular holding hands. Again, not really the most impressive looking things, but these are what we're going to have to use for holding our weapons. And then we have the axe, which again is very simple, just two parts. It has this peg here on the side, which you're able to use to peg it into the side skirt here. I suppose you could plug into the other side, but it might look a little bit goofy. So that just plugs in really simply. If you want to drop that into the hand, it does have a peg here on either the left or the right side, so you can hold it on either hand, and it'll be pegged into a female end here inside the hand on either the left or the right side. So that's nice. The axe will be nice and secure there. Then we have our rifle, which again very similar to the 1/144 scale. Everything on there is really nice, lots of nice detail. The secondary handle moves side to side. The main handle you can see has a left and right tab as well, so you can hold this in either the left or the right side. If you have two kits, you could dual wield them, I suppose. Just like the HG. One difference from the HG is that we have a different choice in barrel for this. There's also a little green sticker there for the camera. If you pull off the barrel, you have the option of putting on this other smaller one here to make it just sort of a pistol. There you go, just a small little barrel tip there is your option for here. If you wanted to keep it just small like this, which would be just pistol or SMG, whatever, I don't know, whatever you don't want to call it, but that is an option if you wanted to do that. And then finally the pieces to make the Barbatos gauntlet arm, the different piece for the upper arm, and then all of this different part for the lower arm. So then once you've part swapped here's what the gauntlet arm is going to look like. Honestly, the bicep is barely different, but you can tell the difference there. Lower arm now has this cool shield on there, and I also put on the Barbatos' shoulder armor onto here. It connects really easily. I don't really like particularly how it looks, but you can do that if you want. You could have it angled up like that, but then that looks kind of weird too. So here's how the two of them are going to compare standing next to each other. As you can see, almost identical in height. The Barbatos is just a slightly bit taller, and a lot of that's just because of the V-fin. Graze definitely has more width there at the upper body. Both of them have pretty bulky legs though. The Barbatos, I prefer the 1/100 scale more than the HG. The Graze, I don't know, still hard to say. The 1/100 scale Graze has a lot of really nice details, but the HG just seems like a little bit nicer of a kit, I think. So I don't know, what do you guys think? And while we're at it, why don't we just compare those two right now? Here you can see there's going to be, yeah, some differences there, mostly just in the surface aesthetic of the kits. The proportions do seem slightly different to me. It's kind of hard to tell exactly where that is, but there's definitely a little bit of a different feel to them. Yeah, I know that the parts here are messed up on the chest of the 1/100 scale, but you get the idea. Anyway, that's what the two of these are going to look like next to each other. Still think that maybe the HG is going to be for me. One nice thing about the HG as well is that we have a lot of different versions. We're having the Schwalbe Graze coming out in 1/100 scale, but in the HG we just had the 4th one come out, and then I think we're probably still going to be getting one more too, at least. So yeah, definitely a lot more options in the HG scale, and it's a lot cheaper. If you wanted to buy like 2 or 3 of them to make a team of them, you could do that as well. So for the same price what you're going to be paying for the 1/100 scale. One more interesting thing to note is that one of the biggest things that I complained about with the 1/100 scale Barbatos was that it had no, it wasn't really set up for any sort of action-based connector, and it didn't come with anything. You just had to use the fork one, which I don't really like, that connector that comes with the action-based one, like we see here. But this one, we're supposed to use this piece. This is a piece that comes with the action-based one. It doesn't come with the Graze. Until now, well, until this kit, this connector is really only used for like 1 or 2 master grade kits. I know it's used for the Wing Zero Custom, and I think maybe 1 or 2 more, but not really very many. So this is the connection piece we're going to use for the Graze. You can see underneath there's a little bar we need to connect this to. And there we go, problem solved. I do have to say that is one thing I'm very happy that they sorted out with this kit. That was very annoying about the Barbatos. I hate using those fork connectors, although admittedly it did work pretty well. It didn't have any problems, but it's so much nicer just to be able to use an actual connector, which is like designed to connect to the suit, or the suit is designed to use that connection piece. So that's nice. One thing that I did forget to mention about the legs is that in the hips there is you are able to like swivel down the hip joint. That sort of makes it able to bring the knee a little bit higher, or a little bit easier. It's not really too much of a difference. Also, the legs don't go out wide, very wide. This is about as wide as they can go, just because of the way that like the mechanical detail of like this part here up inside there, it doesn't go out that wide before it starts to run into itself inside there. So with that, it's just about time to wrap up this review. Honestly, this has been one of the most frustrating reviews I've done in a while. This kit is not easy to work with. The articulation, like I said, the articulation of the hips is annoying. When you're moving it around, stuff falls off. The arm was falling out, the shoulder joint a few times. These parts here in the chest are so annoying, and even the middle section of the chest, if you press down on that just comes out. The head is super loose. The collar part around the back of the head that I pointed out before, that's loose, always coming up. This whole backpack section, the kind of thruster thing, that comes off really easily off the back skirt. So I don't know, these are all things that are easily fixed once you're going to actually like paint and complete the kit. Super easy fixes, not a big deal, but just like out of box like this, trying to maneuver the kit to pose and show you guys has been a little bit frustrating. So I'm not too enthusiastic about this kit. I do think that all the details look really good, and you know, once painted and you've done all the work to make it look and, you know, get it posed in a really nice pose, it's going to look awesome because the details on it are really nice and the proportions are good. Might need to fix something about the articulation depending on what kind of pose you wanted to do, but yeah, and might want to switch out those hands if you wanted a more dynamic open hand. So yeah, there's pros and cons. Ultimately, the 1/100 scale Barbatos surprised me quite a bit. I liked it a lot. It was very solid and fixed a lot of the things that were wrong with the HG Barbatos. This one is not so much that case. It's much less solid than the HG. It doesn't really fix any of the problems except for the seam line on the legs. It's really the only problem of the HG that it's fixed in this case. This one is, of course, as I keep saying, it's upgraded in the details, but that's pretty much the only upgrade that we get. We get open hands, but they're not that great. We get a different barrel for the rifle, which is not really that exciting. We're going to be getting that with the Graze Kai 2, I believe. So yeah, overall, do I recommend it? If you like the Graze, and I do, that's the sad thing about it, is I really like the design of the Graze, so that's why I'm kind of disappointed with this kit. So if you like the Graze and you're planning to paint and finish the kit, then yeah, if you're just going to be building out of box, you might just want to stick with the HG, I have to say. So that's about it, guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. I'm interested to know what you guys' thoughts and opinions are about this kit. Let me know. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope this was helpful, informative for you guys. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news if you were really excited about this kit, but it's not the greatest. We'll just say that. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.